Hello and welcome to Serious Vintage. I'm Geoff Mose.
And I'm Nat Mose.
Today we'll be talking about GenCon and food in Indianapolis.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Hi everyone, we're here with Jerry Yang. We had him on earlier when we talked about the Tuan Sirius Open, and since he is a long-time attendee of GenCon and somewhat of a gourmand, we brought him back.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi Jerry.
Hi.
So yeah, we're about a month away from GenCon as of recording this. I think we're actually like 26 or 7 days away.
Yeah, we're a month away from the last day of GenCon.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been getting excited.
Pants are getting tighter every day.
I cannot keep pencils on my desk at work. So
Wow.
a lot of Magic players a lot of Vintage players anyway, are disappointed that there's not going to be Vintage Champs at GenCon, but, I always find myself more excited about the non-Vintage Champs parts of GenCon.
Well, regardless, I think we've talked about this in a past podcast, but Vintage for an uncut sheet of antiquities is pretty nice. Like, I don't know.
Is it better than a painting?
I think it's probably better than a painting to me.
I think
It's pretty close for me.
To me, it feels like a more vintagey prize than the painting.
How about an uncut sheet of beta? Would that be better?
I would also take an uncut sheet of beta.
I wouldn't. I only want antiquities.
Yeah. Nat has a special affinity for antiquities for some reason over beta.
I do.
You're a workshop player through and through.
That's true. I just think there are a lot of fun cards in antiquities.
There are a lot of really terrible cards in antiquities too.
There sure are.
Like, wow.
I do have to say though, before we get too far away from GenCon, one of my favorite parts about going to GenCon is seeing vintage players that I would never get a chance to see except for GenCon. Like, unfortunately this year Blaine's not going to show up, but normally we meet up with Blaine. At least the Cleveland crew does. And, it's nice to just meet up with people like Blaine Christian and other people from TMD and the vintage community worldwide.
Right.
And I think we all have that nice connectivity, I guess, from vintage that makes it extra fun, especially when you just sit down, go to like a restaurant and drink a beer and hang out.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it's unfortunate that some of that will be marred this year simply because Champs was moved. So I think that there are people who had to make the decision between coming to GenCon and coming to Champs and chose Champs instead. So undoubtedly we'll have a lower turnout.
I chose GenCon instead.
I'm going to both.
Yeah, I think part of the thing about the vintage community is that a lot of the players are really sort of just nice, agreeable, friendly people. Like, they're just worth hanging out with every once in a while. But as Jerry pointed out, it's nice to get to see people and interact with them offline.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to GenCon. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, and so I know Geoff and I have only been really going to GenCon for 2 years now. Our first GenCon trip was in 2011.
Which is funny because I only went because they were like, yeah, Geoff, come to GenCon. You won't.
I remember that.
It was more like we didn't think you would ever go because, I don't know, but it was good you did.
Yes, I really just had to show you guys up.
Reverse psychology works.
You proved us all wrong, I guess.
Yeah, and it was totally worth going, so
yeah.
Everybody won there.
I have to thank J.R. Goldman Bergstein, because he invited me and Trogdon out to GenCon back in like 2005, 2006, I want to say.
And that was your first one?
Oh yeah, and I just remember having a blast, and we've gone every year ever since, just trying to get as many people to go and, split the cost of the commute and stuff like that. But
yeah,
GenCon's just such a good time, and getting to meet all the people that you read about and, from like the tournament results and read about online, it's just such a good time.
Right. And did you play in Vintage Champs every year then too?
Every year, and did terribly so every single year.
So your record is what now?
My record, if you don't count the last 2 years, my record was 1-X, with the one win being in 2008 against CJ.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You played in every round, right?
Every round, I'm not counting the buys, but every round from, let's say 2005 or 6 until 2008, every round was 0-X.
Wow.
Every tournament, was 0-X.
See, I don't even see how that's possible because, like, even the worst Magic player ever wins a match Like, how did you manage that? It's like taking a multiple choice test and getting every question wrong.
See, the thing is, there's actually only one worst Magic player.
Yeah.
And it's
that
Jerry.
Has to be someone.
It's wow.
It has to be someone.
Like, we are in the presence of greatness.
It's certainly the presence of something.
It's nice to be the
skill
best
to
at
do
something.
that.
Yeah. It pretty bad.
Were you making like subpar deck choice? Like, you weren't a vintage noob then either.
Well, it depends on what you mean by vintage noob. But, like, okay, my one example is, again, in 2007, the same year Steve Menendian won, we were playing the same deck. I think I had 4 or 5 cards different, and that was it.
Well, that makes a difference, didn't it?
It apparently did, yeah.
He wasn't playing any of the Moxen.
I was not.
He was like,
no.
don't need him.
But I remember playing a round against one of the Freno brothers. I think it was Raphael.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the worst game of Magic I've ever played in my life. I played no spells. I drew and played every single one of my lands in a Grow deck, so all 14. In our last game, me and Raphael, our last game of the round, where I apologized. I'm like, I can't do anything. Like, literally all I had was lands. That's all I drew.
And so was he playing some sort of stack?
He was playing, of course, yeah, workshops. So it just blew me out.
So you kept a hand that had 7 lands.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome against
the best ever. Yeah, because like if you have 7 lands in a Grow deck, you only have 7 other lands left in your deck.
Right.
And so I was like, it's impossible for me to ever like draw lands. You know?
No.
Yeah. So I played every single land, and the game couldn't have lasted more than like 5 turns. Like, he just completely blew me out.
Way to beat the odds, Jerry.
It was the best. Gotta be good at something, right?
Well, so has Trogdon been going with you all those years?
Every single year, yeah. In fact, I'm kind of disappointed this will be the first year Trogdon isn't going.
Yeah, me too. He has made top 8 once or twice?
Multiple times, yeah.
Yeah,
he has a very solid track record, and I'm just disappointed because he's got a real good shot of winning that uncut antiquity sheet. So I figured it'd be good for Trogdon to win.
That's the perfect thing for Trogdon to have.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that one of us can bring it home in Trogdon's name this year. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, somebody should do that.
Probably you, Jerry.
I wouldn't count on it. My track record is not good for GenCon.
So, what are you guys planning on playing in the Vintage Champs? Well, I think the de facto Vintage Champs is going to be the uncut Antiquities sheet. So
yeah.
You guys are both planning on playing in that?
Oh yeah,
I am.
For sure.
Definitely.
And do you have decks already planned out, or are you still waiting? Like, we have a month, so are you narrowing in?
I don't have anything. I unfortunately have been away from the game for a while.
Yeah.
So currently I have Burning Long put together.
Uh-huh.
And
which I know you've talked about and you don't enjoy playing.
I do not, but it is the only deck I have put together, and I've been playing it because other people want to test against it, because it's a definitive part of the metagame.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I think that might be the one deck I'll play just because I've actually played it, as opposed to playing a new deck.
I see.
I don't think I've put together anything since the Tuan Sirius Invitational, so I still have Restoration Angel Control together. I don't really know what I'll be playing when Gen Con comes around. I think this will be interesting because I always am worried about predicting that a new card will actually shake up the vintage metagame, because the vintage metagame is so resistant to being shaken up.
Right.
Do we have any new cards coming in?
Well, Young Pyromancer coming around.
People are talking about that a lot.
People are talking about it a lot. I think it could be pretty cool. It could be a fun time if he decides to show up and make some noise.
He's the one that makes 1/1s every time you cast an instant or sorcery?
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, that seems real good against workshops.
Yes, exactly right. And as we established in the chat the other day, Young Pyromancer plus Ancient Grudge against shops, oh man, it's blowout.
Oh, what a beating.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of interactions with Young Pyromancer. I mean,
Yeah.
Young Pyromancer and Cabal Therapy.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Oh man, that's good.
And so it's pretty good against the workshop match. It's also pretty good against the control match, right? Because just by playing the control match, you're going to win the game by getting more threats.
By playing even if they counter them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then is it good across the board then? It's probably not very good against Dredge.
Well, yeah, but that's why you have a sideboard, right?
Yeah. So that's pretty good. I mean, if the format's more creature based now and it's good against workshops and control decks, it seems like it'd be an easy choice.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Reasonable.
I think that Vintage right now is sort of weak to Creature Swarm.
Mhm.
There isn't a lot of, like, I see very few decks like playing Echoing Truth these days. There are some Ratchet Bombs and Engineered Explosives floating around, but I don't think it's heavily played, and that could definitely kill
Well,
some people who are unprepared.
Nice going. Way to kick yourself in the pants. Like, this is a podcast. People are going to know now.
Geoff, is this the first year you're going to play with full power? Or do you have full power yet?
Yeah, this will be the first time.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I'm
Yeah.
fully suited up and ready to go.
Yeah.
Now you can ride your
Strap
skateboard
these
for a
on.
while.
I'd like to get one more Mox before I go, or there. That'll put me at 3 Moxes plus Ancestral Time Walk and Lotus.
What about you, Nat? What are you going to play? Or have you not decided yet?
I don't know yet. I have a sort of metagamed fish deck that I have together, and I think if I can get one more Mox, I can play a decent Gush list, which may or may not include Young Pyromancer or something. I don't know. So
Oh, I do like Gush with Young Pyromancer. That sounds nice.
I know, doesn't it sound really good?
I hadn't played Gush really until recently, and once you have cast Gush, it's really hard to get off the train of casting Gush, because that's just a fun spell to resolve.
Oh yeah.
The whole no mana, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this is so good.
Well, yeah, and I have a Gush combo list together right now that I've been toying with off and on for a couple months now, and I think
Is that the
fun.
4 regrowth Gush list?
Yeah.
You should play at the TSO coming up in Columbus.
Yeah, we'll see. But that one would be one that right now I have 4 Moxes in it, and I could probably drop one of those for a land if I had an extra Mox to play. But.
Oh, you could be totally counterintuitive and replace one of the Moxen with Mox Opal.
Yeah.
A bold move.
Mox Opal. I think I'm playing a total of 6 artifacts in that deck.
Yeah, it's good enough.
That's activation right there.
guess-
I mean, you
I
only
guess
need
we're
half
close.
of those on the board.
Yeah. But I'm not really sure. I'll probably have the makings for that deck and another one when I go.
Seems
I think
neat.
I think for me, in Gen Con's past, one of the hardest parts for me was I wanted to play multiple formats at Gen Con, and it's very difficult to have like a vintage deck put together, a legacy deck put together, an extended or standard deck put together, and tweak them all while you're there.
Well,
But-
more than that, I mean, I think it's hard to play in multiple formats because basically, like, I mean, when you choose a format to play for the day, that's all you're gonna do that day.
Oh,
Yeah.
Unless you're Jerry and you bomb out after 2 rounds.
I stick it through usually. I take my beatings.
Yeah, because I know I've played a full day of vintage where I played in 2 qualifiers on Friday, or on Thursday rather, and man, that'll take it out of you. You're pretty much done by the time you want to, actually play in the champs on Friday. So actually, I think this will be a good year for relaxing a little bit from the normal grind of
Of
Magic
playing in turn.
day. Yeah.
First world problems, so many
Well,
Magic.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
I think that Nat and I both agreed on that when we came out of and we were not alone in coming out of our first Gen Con saying, I think we played too much Magic this year, and we didn't partake of the other bounteous feast that Gen Con has to offer.
Oh, now that I agree with. There is so much to do at Gen Con. It is just too much. You literally get overloaded with choices of things to do at Gen Con.
Yeah.
I think that that Thursday, that first day of Gen Con, the exhibit hall is such a great time
Yeah.
because all the exhibitors and vendors have all a bunch of like a free swag to give away. And you get to demo all the games, and it's just a fun time just to try new card games and whatnot. But there's other stuff too at Gen Con. I think we, was it 2 years ago or was it last year that we got a group together for True Dungeon?
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
last year.
and that's always a good time. I
Yeah,
hear.
so this was advertised to us by Jimmy McCarthy as being like a really good time, that he had done it with his friends previously and we should all do it. And
Right.
we paid a decent amount to go and do True Dungeon, and let me tell you, I was advertised that if we did this after, I think, 10 o'clock or something, that there would be a bar
A bar.
at the True
That's,
Dungeon.
yeah, we're promised
And-
the bar.
Yeah, I was under the impression that this was like a bar that would be available throughout the True Dungeoning experience. I was really just looking forward to watching a bunch of my friends get hammered in some sort of really dumb role-playing experience.
Which you
And
basically
instead
did.
Instead, we just had a dumb role-playing experience.
You guys were not nearly hammered enough to have fun playing True Dungeon. No,
I just felt like
Hmm.
there was a lot that was sort of misrepresented in True Dungeon. And I think part of it was that they put you into a group, and the party you end up taking in is a group of, was it 10 people?
it was
10
10 people.
And it's so many people.
Yeah,
to try and
it's a lot of people to
coordinate.
deal with, especially
Right.
when one of them is an idiot and the other one is Jerry, who is actively sabotaging
Hey.
the group with bad ideas.
I
Right.
started it out by saying that my goal was to sabotage us the entire time.
Right. And I think another part of it was that there was so much trouble trying to hear the instructions and
Yeah.
the backstory and all of the talking that the dungeon master people, the guides, were doing.
I didn't hear a single instruction given by a dungeon master because there was 10 people and it was just impossible to hear in that kind of ruckus.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
if we weren't making noise, I mean, the venue just ate all the sound from
Right.
just into the background hum of everything else going on.
Right. You're basically in one giant room of the convention center, and the tops of all the rooms are open, so everyone's talking, and it just turns into a huge echo chamber up top.
Yeah.
that-
What was it like? Did they set up like these wooden partitions or something, or
Yeah.
what,
Yeah,
what
they
were the
were-
walls made out of?
It was different things. It was cloth and
Yeah, there were
Just
there
thinking
were
about the
there were
dividers.
solid ones that you couldn't walk through, but there were all sorts of like basically curtains that they could walk
Oh
through.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
right.
And
And part of
it's
it,
just-
part of
yeah.
it too, is that the spellcasters, which I think last year was Geoff and me,
Yes.
spent so much time studying these stupid charts that I think I used once, and I studied it really well. Like I could probably still do pretty well at it.
I was amused that your chart was like super hard. It had like a couple of easy ones and then a bunch of super hard ones, and the only time that you actually did it,
Right.
you got one of the super easy ones.
No, well, I think I had to use it twice, but it was a lot harder than I cared to do.
Yeah.
Especially since I couldn't hear whatever else was going on, so it's just like, I'm gonna focus on this and hope it comes up.
Yeah.
I think the most disheartening thing, and so I should say that we were playing the puzzle version, not
Oh, yeah.
the combat version, and I have no idea how the combat version would work out, but with the puzzle version, so the basic gist of this is that there were a bunch of puzzles that you had to do, and every time you tried, you like attempted a solution of the puzzle and failed, everyone in the room took damage, and then if you
Yeah.
failed the puzzle, you took about as much damage as you would by 2 failures.
Right.
So we would have been far better off if we had just attempted to solve none of the puzzles, because as soon as you fail them twice,
Yeah.
you
So
would
we
have
could
been better
have
off
just
not doing anything.
stood around high-fiving each other for 5
And
minutes.
man, that sounds like it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Which, if we were actually hammered, right, we probably would have.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. It was just disappointing all around.
yeah.
It was unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think even Jimmy came out of that saying, wow, this was not the experience that I had last time, and I'm really disappointed.
Well, was he disappointed in us, or was he disappointed in them?
I
Both.
think he was disappointed in us.
I think so.
Both. I think he was disappointed in Twan ruining that last puzzle and getting us all killed.
Well, Twan didn't knowingly ruin it. He was,
Yeah, he did.
No,
No, he didn't he didn't knowingly ruin it, but that doesn't
Right.
matter. He was still an idiot and ruined it.
Oh, that's all right.
And I can
Poor
say
Twan.
that.
I
can
don't
say
blame
that Twan's an
Twan for
idiot.
ruining that. It was just
I blame
that whole
Jerry.
thing was a mess. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was Jerry's fault. Because Jerry was just moving those swords around at the end. And,
That's the best.
yeah.
So yeah, True Dungeon, disappointing.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately
was
disappointing.
disappointed.
But on the flip side, what was really awesome was the GenCon dance.
Well, we didn't do that last year. That
No,
was,
yeah.
that
2
was
years ago.
2011. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going back to the Gen Con dance this year.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
yet to go to a Gen Con dance. I skipped the first one because I thought that I had lost Josh Chappell's
Mojo?
dredge deck, and I basically tore
right.
I
Oh,
tore
that's
the
right.
hotel room apart trying to find it while everyone was gone, because I
Oh.
didn't want to admit to Josh that I thought I had lost his dredge deck.
Nice.
Did you find it, or did he have it?
He eventually
found it.
found it. Like, I eventually gave up, and then he found it underneath a pile of stuff, and I was like,
Oh.
thank God.
So you had
Oh.
given it back to him, and he had lost
Yeah,
it.
I had given it back
You-
to him, and he just placed
That's
it somewhere when we were
yeah.
totally, like, whacked out at 3 a.m. or something.
Oh man.
And that was when I swore I'm never borrowing cards from anyone again because I just don't want to deal with that kind of stress.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Especially with sanctioned vintage decks, they're so expensive.
Yeah. I don't want to ever get into that feeling again. It was awful.
Right. Well, and Dredge isn't even especially expensive. I mean, it's got the 4 bazaars in it, but that's still $1,000.
Yeah, he was fully Russian and foily though, so.
Oh, well, yeah, but still, even that's not.
It was still enough. I was stressed.
Yeah, you're baller. You can cover that. No problem.
I was poorer back then. But you guys went to the dance and apparently had a miraculously good time.
It was great. The GenCon dance was such a alcohol-fueled enjoyment.
Well, I know,
awesome.
I know that Jared Dewey and I had walked around, or we had actually gone to the baseball game before the dance, because they have the Indianapolis Indians are right downtown there. You can walk to the stadium and then, continue with your GenCon experience. So we were coming back from this baseball game, and we walked around forever trying to find where the dance was, because it wasn't right on it wasn't in the general area of
it's set aside.
Of the convention centers.
And
I think that's
nerds
just
over there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
they
it's
do.
just because they moved the real degenerates away.
They do.
Yeah, and as soon as we got there, everyone was like, "Oh, you have to go to the hotel bar next door." So that's what we did.
A bold move.
Yeah, because I know the plan. Well, I know CJ's plan anyway was to go to the hotel bar, get 4 drinks, 1 for the walk back to the dance, 2 for the dance, and then 1 for the walk back to the hotel bar.
That was only because the bar setup at the GenCon dance was ridiculously stupid. Like, there were, I don't know what it was about the mindset of the attendees of the dance, but there were actual people queued up to like, neat lines up to a bar.
Yeah.
I've never seen that at a bar ever.
One bartender.
That's ridiculous. And so, like, I just walked up to the bar and got all these glares by these people, right? But
that's
eventually,
how bars work.
Exactly, yeah. So I go up to the bar and I ask for a Johnny Walker neat because I don't drink beer or anything like that. And I ask for a Johnny Walker, and the guy had this unopened bottle of Johnny Walker Black just sitting there. So he cracked it open and gave me this, those clear plastic, like 16-ounce cups. He just poured the entire thing full of Johnny Walker, because I asked for it neat. He just poured it full of Johnny Walker, hands it to me, it's like $5. My head explodes. That must have been like 5 shots of whiskey.
So how much value did you actually get out of that plastic cup of scotch?
I mean, you figure a shot of whiskey is probably like what, $5-6 at any other place?
Right.
So I definitely got a 5-for-1 deal.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's the only way to do the GenCon dance, is to get the Jerry Yang deal.
You could also go to the hotel bar and get the beers that were cheaper and didn't have a ridiculously long line.
Right.
But
it's a ridiculously long walk back to that hotel bar.
Outside of the bars, I mean, the actual dance itself was such a great time. Everyone was in a good mood. The music was pumping. You had, Deadmau5 Girl in the hat?
Patrick Chapin.
Patrick Chapin dancing. It was such a good time.
Yeah.
Good time all around. Nat, weren't you experiencing the magical elevator at some point, too?
Oh, yeah, well, there was this elevator. Well, because we were all, as true social ineptitude would lead us to do, we were all sort of standing off to the side of the GenCon dance up on a
balcony.
A balcony. There was an elevator that would go up and down to the dance floor, and then it had a couple other floors, and so we were putting beer bottles on that and then hitting the button, and when the elevator would come back, they'd be gone. So,
now, mind you, these are empty beer bottles, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, we're not wasting alcohol here, but I mean, I was just really glad that they took those for us. That was very nice of them. But we were using the elevator to go all through the building. Like we were going down to the kitchen area and up. They had some other rooms that weren't being used and stuff. It was kind of cool to explore because that was at Union Station, so it was the old train station. They had some cool stuff around.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Have you checked the events list to see where the dance is this year? Is it in the same place?
Yeah, it was in the same place last year. I haven't checked it.
Yeah, neither have I.
But I know we're all looking forward to it, so if you go to your own GenCon events list, I'm sure you can find it.
And you can see us there. And plus, was it JR and Josh Chappell got the amazing shot of...
That's right. So, how there are the portraits of couples as they enter a dance at, prom?
Yeah.
At the GenCon dance, there was the portrait guy, and Josh and JR decided to get a portrait of themselves where JR's on his back with his feet up, and Josh is like doing the airplane.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, I
really
think
impressive shot.
I've seen that photo, but I didn't know it was that was the situation
It is
that
a
came
great photo.
out. Oh my.
And of course they were drunk, so that it was not graceful at all.
Right.
It took
Well,
like 5 minutes to pull off.
Even if they're not drunk, I'm not sure if that off is graceful. Well, because I mean, this also led up to JR doing the parkour high five that
Oh yeah.
led to him busting up his shoulder.
So, Nat, could you explain the parkour high five for
Oh,
those
well,
who are not aware?
I mean, I'm not even sure if I was there, but I mean, the basic thing is that JR saw a guy that he really wanted to high five out on the street. After
Who was sitting on a recessed window ledge,
Yeah.
about 3-4 feet up in the air.
Right. So he really wanted to high five this guy and decided that he was going to parkour high five him and time his run and jump off of a couple of other ledges and the wall and, a parking barrier and whatever else. And in the process of trying to high five him, he high fived him and then fell on his arm real hard.
Yeah, I think that as far as I've heard it, he executed several jumps and a wall run up to the high five,
Yeah.
but then neglected to think about how he was going to get back down and just fell.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best little small notes about that is that JR had 2 pocketfuls of beers in glass bottles. And neither of his beers broke. They were still good.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, that was real good. He saved his beers.
That could have been
Yeah.
a hospital trip.
Yeah, I was like, that would have been a fun GenCon experience. I wonder
Did
about
you
the
get into
hospital.
a fight in a bar? No. I was parkour high-fiving someone.
I wonder about the hospital visits that GenCon brings about.
Oh, I'm sure there's some weird stuff.
Yeah, I'm
happening.
sure there's more than I care to know about.
One of the nice things about GenCon also is, at least last year, was that the food trucks took over one of the side streets.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day you would have a rotation of food trucks that were local to Indy
Yeah.
that would rotate out. I think there was like more than a dozen of them, and they rotated out every hour.
Yeah.
And so you could just visit every hour and see a completely different lineup of food trucks.
Yeah, I know they had some good stuff out there. There were some better ones and some worse ones. And
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember you getting shafted, Nat, when you waited in a long line just to have them say that they were totally out of food.
Well, they were out of the thing that I was going to get. I don't remember
Oh.
what that was, but I remember waiting in line for a long time, and it was really hot too.
Yeah,
It was
that was rough.
that alley was, completely paved, and then when
Baking
you're
in
standing
the sun.
outside in noonday sun, like there's no shade, so you're just standing out there in line for.
Yeah, I think this year, at least for me, I'm going to try to switch it up and go to the food trucks less. As Jason Jaco has posted a list of a bunch of interesting looking restaurants to go to.
Right.
And I think I'm interested in trying just a whole bunch of new restaurants. Because I think one of the problems is that we tend to go to the same restaurants every
Right.
year. Like, for example, I always go to St. Elmo's for their shrimp cocktail.
Yeah, I'm not planning on going to St. Elmo's this year.
It's really expensive. That's the only issue
Yeah.
for me. Is it's just like, $100 on a meal is kind of way up there. And
So
Right.
enjoy yourself at Alinea later this year, Jerry.
exactly, yeah.
Alinea.
Alinea.
But and then we also go to the Tapas Bar, Barcelona.
Yeah, I think that one was pretty good. I had a good time there last year and I think part of that was because we had a smaller table off to the side. Was it the three of us and?
Yeah,
Well,
and
I think so.
someone else. And that was actually really nice because we had a more
romantic setting.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
it was very
We-
romantic,
yeah.
and it was
It was
a lot
candlelight.
easier to figure out who was buying what,
Right.
and also the portions were really good for 4 people trying something.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think our
also-
waiter quit.
yeah, midway through, I think he did leave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing. We were there. Our table of 4 was part of a larger group of 20. So
Yeah.
I think he was a little stressed out,
Yeah,
Well, I think that's
even though
one
we
of-
weren't being jerks to him.
No, I think that's one of the best things about GenCon too, is that you'll randomly walk into Barcelona or like the Ram Brewery, and you'll be sitting there with a bunch of gamers talking about Magic, and like the next table over will be another table of gamers.
Right. When GenCon's going on, that's pretty much all of the people that are downtown Indianapolis.
it's taken
are
over.
gamers of
Yeah.
some sort.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
So I think I'm looking forward to a couple different places. One of the places that comes to mind is Punch Burger. I really think we should be going to Punch Burger.
I really don't know how we can avoid going to that. I mean, with the legacy of Sandwich Punch as strong as it is, I don't think we can skip that one.
It's unfortunate though because Sandwich Punch is going to be on the top of everyone's mind. No sandwiches are going to get punched in Punch Burger, and that seems like a travesty.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, I think it just takes some people to get drunk beforehand.
That's true.
If they're not thinking clearly, they won't be thinking about Sandwich Punch.
Do you remember last year when Greg was just drunk off his at the hotel bar?
For 4 days.
And I deliberately left my sandwich unguarded. There was like 2 bites left. And he made a huge effort to reach over and punch it and then fell out of his chair on the way back.
That's right,
He
yeah.
was super stoked that he got it, and I was like, did that one just for you, Greg.
So we're going to Punch Burger. What's that all about?
Punch Burger is just a burger
Gourmet
place.
burger joint?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it gourmet or is it just like,
no, it was along the cheaper lines, like Five Guys
Okay.
or something like that.
sounds good to me.
Where it's like sit down, burgers on the grill, and you just sit down and get
Yeah.
cheaper food.
I'm
Yeah,
down.
that sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I remember the first year we went, I went to dinner with Matt Hazard, Mark Trogdon, and CJ to Moe's Steakhouse.
Oh yeah. Did you
And,
like the cream corn, right?
Oh, the cream corn is so good. Like, I really kind of just want to go back there just to stop in and see if they'll give me a to-go box of the cream
Of cream corn?
Yeah.
Man. You know, that cream corn is almost as legendary as the
chicken wing?
Chicken tenders.
Yeah.
The Marriott.
Oh, man.
The Marriott. I've been hearing about this for a whole year.
You're
I know
so
you're pretty
cynical
upset
about
about it,
this.
too.
Yeah.
The thing is that, like, they're in my mind, they're just chicken tenders. How good
No.
can chicken tenders
No.
be? But everyone I've talked to just raves about these darn chicken tenders.
Well, it's interesting because they are so different from typical chicken tenders because you can tell that
They're not. They're just
Well-
better than other chicken tenders.
A year-long troll. It's
you
just-
get used
It's actually
to
been 2 years, I think.
you get used to the heavily processed standard chicken tender, and these actually look like they started with chicken and made a chicken tender out of it.
Oh, please.
Well, they're not dry. That's
Yeah.
my big complaint about chicken tenders, is that they usually either overcook them or they start out dry, so.
Well, in any case, I'm looking forward to ending this year-long troll and
And,
trying
yeah,
the darn
well,
chicken tenders.
you're gonna
I mean,
go
the
to-
thing is, you're gonna hate these chicken tenders
Yeah.
regardless. Just
Yeah.
if you
Exactly.
actually like them, you're just gonna be like, these are the worst chicken tenders I've
Hey,
ever had. You're
You're
all
gonna be
idiots.
you're gonna be pissed off for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I gave White Castle its full due, and it was pleasantly surprising. And I'll give these
'Cause
chicken
it was better
tenders.
than you thought it would be.
Exactly, yeah.
That's because we were
I've-
playing down White Castle.
Right.
I have low
right.
expectations for these chicken tenders, just so you guys know.
The
Okay.
lead up to White Castle was, well, you should probably try it. It's like, this is an experience. You don't need to enjoy it. You should just try
You
it.
should probably have an intestinal cleaning at least once in your lifetime,
Right.
so have some White Castle.
Right.
One of the places that Jaco and I have been talking about for a long time now is Yats. It's a Cajun
Oh, yeah.
/ Creole place. It's a little bit further, but I think we're gonna actually finally go this year.
Okay. Is that a place that we'd have to drive to from the convention area?
No, it's 2 miles away, so we could drive.
So,
especially
yes.
if it's hot. Well, I mean, if it's hot, I suppose. But,
Yeah, that's fine.
2 miles seems okay to walk. Like,
Oh, sure.
we've been to Acapulco Joe's, and that's 2 miles away. So,
Oh, yeah, Acapulco Joe's.
yeah. That's the one where, you recommended that.
Yeah.
And then I think I responded to you
Successful.
by saying,
You successfully trolled me for an entire year saying that you guys all got diarrhea.
that was the best.
When
Like,
in fact, you guys had an okay time.
it was great. The salsa was tasty. It was
Yeah,
different.
their salsa's really good.
Yeah, it has like a nice cinnamony aftertaste.
Yeah.
And so like, it was actually really good, but I wanted to troll Nat about how like, I told him that he almost caused us to miss Vintage Champs because
Yep.
of it, and it was great.
And
I
I
totally
felt
missed
really
this.
bad because I really didn't know for a long time that you guys were actually okay.
Wow, what a jerk.
I know. No, it was brilliant. I mean, it was really good. It was just,
Yeah, Acapulco Joe's is great, and plus you get so much food. I think I spent like
Yeah.
$6 there, and I ate half my meal. It was so much food.
Well, and they'll keep bringing you salsa and stuff. I learned about that place from a roommate of mine who used to live in Indy, and he actually bought the salsa by the gallon. So
Oh, so good, yeah.
yeah,
So I think we'll definitely try to hit up Acapulco Joe's again.
that's good because
And-
I've never been there.
Oh, good. So we can at least try to hit it up. But there's a couple other places. Jaco mentioned the Ball and the Biscuit.
hmm
More of a drinking place, but it seems to be a trendier, like, I want to say almost hipster, like, eatery.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
But I did notice that there is no PBR on the menu, so it can't be that bad.
oh, it
good
can't
sign.
be that hipster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know Ryan Seeley has also recommended. Was it Brewburger?
Yeah, we went to Brewburger last year, actually.
Oh, did you? I didn't get to
Yeah.
go. Where was I?
I personally wasn't a big fan, but the
Okay.
rest of the guys seemed to really enjoy their burgers, so maybe it's just what I ordered.
Oh, what did you get?
I don't remember.
Was it
Oh.
was it a plain hamburger, Jerry?
It was not a plain hamburger.
Oh, okay.
Did it have an egg on it?
It did have a fried egg on it, and the fried egg was overcooked.
Ah,
That's the one thing I remember.
Yeah.
You can't
That is a
order
shame.
a burger with a fried egg and it not be like runny and gooey. It
Right.
cannot be, overcooked and hard with the yolk. Forget it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one might be an option.
But we have a couple other interesting places, I suppose. Outside of the ones that I already mentioned, there's two different places that may or may not be related. One's called Smoking Goose, and the other one's called Goose the Market. They're on different streets, but they both have goose in their name, so that's how I'm thinking they're related.
Ah.
But
Are they
they both-
actually related, or do you just think that?
I think they are because they both specialize in locally sourced charcuterie.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's a thing in Indies to name their restaurants Goose. I have no idea.
Maybe.
Yeah, and so like both Jake and I are big fans of charcuterie, so I think it'll be a good time to try one or the other or
And
both.
so, what exactly is charcuterie for
It's a
people who don't know?
different types of smoked meats and
Okay.
or cured meats. So
So you're
most
looking like sausages and hams.
yeah, and salami and prosciutto, the standard capicola, all the standard smoked meats.
Sure.
With these two places, I imagine since Goose is in the name, at least the one I looked up, Goose the Market, specializes in a specific goose charcuterie.
Ooh.
That's supposed to be pretty fancy. So, looking forward to trying that. There's another place that I'm particularly fond of Scottish food. So there's
Well,
this
seeing as how you're Scottish now.
exactly, yeah. And so there's this Scottish place called McNiven's that I kind of want to try, but they have a actual Scottish breakfast and a wide range of Scottish whiskeys on the menu. So
Oh, do they have haggis?
they do have haggis. In fact, they boast they have the best haggis in America.
Oh,
That's quite a claim.
is it though?
I don't know.
I would go there. I would go there just to try haggis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have they also have a Scotch egg on the menu, not being Scotch, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah. But they have a Scotch egg on the menu, so that's pretty cool.
Right. Huh. Interesting.
Are you planning on going to St. Elmo's again this year, Jerry, or are you going to skip that this year?
For me, I think I'm gonna go. I always enjoy that shrimp cocktail. I have never had a shrimp cocktail like that cocktail sauce at St. Elmo's.
Should probably tell the story of my first time going
Oh,
to St.
man.
Elmo's with you.
Did you go in 2011, Jeff?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I had no idea what I was getting into, but everyone ordered shrimp cocktail. I personally did not, and
Was that because you don't like shrimp cocktail, or just because?
I'm fine with shrimp
Not-
cocktail, but I don't usually it's not something I'll
Yeah.
order off of a menu. Like I'm fine eating it casually
Right.
at a party, but it's not something I just am like, oh god, I
Right.
gotta have the shrimp cocktail. And I didn't
Yeah, because I know that.
I didn't really know that the place was famous for shrimp cocktail.
Right.
And when all of their shrimp cocktails got there, they were like, "Oh, Jeff, you got to try this." And I was like, "Okay." So I picked up a shrimp,
All
and
right,
I was
fine,
like,
whatever.
"All right, well, I'm not gonna be a sissy." So I got a lot of the sauce on it.
You
And I
must have
just,
had like 3 tablespoons of that sauce. on
I
there.
just threw the entire thing in my mouth. and I had no idea what was about to happen, but
So your allergies cleared up immediately, right?
yeah,
Immediately.
that stuff's pretty hot.
It's chock full of horseradish. I
Yeah.
think it actually has more horseradish than tomato in
The
it.
tomato, yeah.
I was, it's difficult to explain how it feels to suddenly have that thrust upon you, but it was,
Well, your eyes completely popped wide open.
Yeah.
I think you almost fell out of your chair.
yeah, that's about right. It was, holy it was, wow.
I have to give you extra mad props for not spitting it out of your mouth.
No, I ate
Not
it.
crying and not throwing up. Good job.
Yeah.
There was quite a bit of cursing.
Well, I think that the fun part about St. Elmo's last year was what they put us, since we had a larger party as usual.
I think it was like 16.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
put us in the wine cellar room.
That room was awesome.
Yeah, which was just super swanky. It was like we were down there in the wine cellar. They had,
And we had the entire room to ourselves.
yeah,
That was awesome.
all of us were sitting around one table. We got a couple of good group pictures down there.
Yeah, it's
That
funny
was a lot of
because
fun.
not only did we have a large group that was suited for the wine cellar, but we also were noticeably less dressed than the rest of the clientele.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a very good way to just sort of squirrel
Hide
us
us?
down where no one would see us.
Yeah.
It was a great time though.
I have a good time at St. Elmo's because of two things. I really like their shrimp cocktail, and two, they specialize in dry-aged beef.
Right.
And their dry-aged beef is stellar. I don't know if you're listening to this and you've never actually had dry-aged beef before. Totally give it a shot if it's like a 30-day or more aged beef. It is completely different in texture and taste than normal beef. It'll be noticeably softer and more blue cheesy in like smell. Yeah, and the beef flavor is like ratcheted up through the roof. So it's pretty good.
For a moment I thought you were going to say that the beef flavor is wretched.
Yeah, wretched. Putrid. No, it's like, you basically get like 1,000% beef flavor in a nice, like, buttery texture.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
I know you also go to, what's the breakfast place that you go to?
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about it. It's like a GenCon tradition for me. But the first year I went, I remember meeting up with Mike Baumholt at Patachou in the park, literally across the street from the convention center.
Right.
And ever since that fateful day, just every morning would go to Patachou for breakfast. It's like a local student union, and they serve everything's fresh made and locally sourced, and you just get a really solid breakfast.
Oh, good. That place, I remember walking by that a couple times. It always seems really busy. Do you have to go there really early, or
Yeah,
do you just wait in line?
You definitely wait for a table if you get there like at a normal breakfast time.
Uh-huh.
Since I like to wake up early, I usually get there around 7, and you usually get a table right away.
Can you get food to go?
There is a takeout section, so you could probably call ahead
Oh, interesting.
and get a box to go.
Yeah.
They have these really good omelets. One of the best things that they have is a broken yolk sandwich,
Okay.
which probably won't carry out too well.
Right.
But basically they take a sandwich and it's just open-faced, and they give you a sunny side up egg so you can crack the yolk and have the goo go everywhere.
Yeah. Goo everywhere.
The best.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, I think there's a couple farmers markets that are in the area too.
Uh-huh.
One is the State House Market, in case you like to peruse local markets, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
And the other is the Indiana Farmers Market, which is a couple blocks away.
Oh, yeah.
And both markets are really solid if you can get there when the farmers are actually there.
Ah.
But if you're playing in a Magic tournament, that's not going to happen. So.
Right. And did you see the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse GenCon special?
Yeah, I saw
Is
that.
that a trap?
I don't know. Jaco seems to be pretty confident in it.
Yeah.
And I was reading previous, on the GenCon boards, they have a GenCon forum for like food.
Uh-huh.
And the reviews from the other GenCon attendees seem to be very positive.
Okay. Yeah, they have a deal where you can pre-order a steak slider sack lunch on August 16th for $10. And as long as you, I think you have to pick it up between 10 and 2.
Yeah, something like that. It's all pre-ordered too on
Yeah,
the
it's
internet.
it's all pre-ordered. You just go over and pick it up. So my thinking is that this might end up with a line of gamers out the door, but apparently if
Jacob said that
everything
they've
works
been
out,
doing it for years though.
right?
My concern is that like a steak slider is probably not going to be very good if it's cold.
Right.
And so if you arrive there, like, if let's say there's, I don't know how many, let's say there's 100 people, right?
Right.
Like 100 steak sliders, that 100th steak slider is probably pretty cold.
Right. Well, you don't think they keep preparing them throughout that 4 hours?
Well, I mean, I think they do, but still, like the last one that they cook,
Right.
you know, like it's probably still going to be sitting there for a little bit of time.
That's probably true.
Yeah, but in any case, I think it'll be worth the $10 to give it a shot.
Yeah, makes
'Cause
sense.
if it's, you know, it's risk versus reward, I suppose. Like it could be really good.
Yeah, if you want to look into that, it's at ruthschrisindy.com/GenCon, and you have to pre-order and pay 4 or more days in advance.
Yeah, I think August 12th is the cutoff, right?
Yeah, and we'll put links and information for some of the other restaurants we talk about in the text part of the podcast. All of your Gen Con eating needs will be taken care of. So you don't need to go to that overcrowded Steak and Shake or the overcrowded Noodles and Company or fast food.
Man, I just feel sorry for the people that pour in and out of those places, because there's so much opportunity around the convention center if they just walk like 5 minutes more. There's...
And the funny thing is, like, if you go 2 blocks, like, there's nobody in the restaurants at that point.
Yeah.
So you get right in, you can sit down, you have better food.
Yeah, one of the things I think is severely underrated is hitting up the mall. Normally I'm not a fan of mall food.
Right.
But it's about 2 blocks away, so it's a little bit more of a walk, but you get to avoid that entire rush of just people in all the different restaurants.
Right.
And you can get, I mean, if you're in for a cheaper experience, I mean, you can definitely get the cheaper food at the mall.
Right.
For example, like at Steak and Shake, you can get the chocolate malt at Johnny Rockets in the mall. Right. And rather than waiting like half an hour for your shake, you can wait 5 minutes for your shake.
That mall is pretty nice too. I know that Nat and I, in 2011, we got our food and we went out. There's a
atrium.
Yeah, there's an atrium that goes over the street, and it's basically all glass. You can look out around the city, and it's a really pleasant environment to.
And they were having a free concert in there when we were there.
Yeah, it was adorable.
It was adorable. We sat in line.
So Geoff, you're a fan of small romantic dining experiences?
With his cousin, yeah.
Sure. I mean, we had the romantic dining experience at Barcelona. Indianapolis, for me, is the city of romance.
I see, okay.
That I leave my wife to go and visit.
They have a canal and everything.
It's happened again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour listening to Serious Vintage. I'm Geoff Mose.
I'm Nat Mose.
And I'm Jerry Yang.
And we hope you'll join us next time for more Serious Vintage.
Take a little trip, take a little trip, take a little trip and see. Take a little trip, take a little trip, take a little trip with me.
You need to get Chapel back from the 4th dimension. That actually did. Yeah, you fixed it because you muted one of you.
Oh, wait.
But which one of you is the real you?
We'll have to shoot them both.
Yeah, we'll have to shoot them both.